my practice is kind of like rooted in like this whole thing about like human like experience and evolution, I guess. So like I have this thing that I wrote down, like the 7 rays of life and evolution. So it's all about like the colors and how they relate to different sectors of our life. And how we can use the understanding of that and the experience of that in our real time to like distill them down and understand that we have these connections and that these things are actually important, even though they seem mundane.
So, all right. So it was the seven what?
7 rays of life.
7 rays of life. So can you break those down?
So there's like, so basically it's like the color, like the light spectrum. So it's red,
Okay.
orange, yellow, green, blue, violet. So it's pretty much the light spectrum, but all of those colors relate to different sectors. It comes from a book that I read a long time ago, called Color Color Therapy of something. Oh man, I'm forgetting the name right
It's
now,
all good.
but
It's all good.
yeah.
I'm more interested in the idea. Go on.
Yeah, no, definitely. But I read this book a while ago where basically it talked about kind of the relationship of color and even just in human like interaction, like or how they human creation, I'll say. So making clothing. So what that actually means in like back in BC times, like when they wore specific like robe colors and things like that, and what that meant for specific cultures at that time. And then now fast forward into modern day time, like using that same concept to relate it to like the light spectrum, which is what we see when it rains, rainbow. So
So, like, are there specific examples of like of colors that people? I'm just like kind of a history
yeah.
nerd. So, do you remember any of those from the book, or are
Yeah,
you? Do you have examples like that are
well, I can give
contemporary?
yeah, I can give you some because I off the top of my head from the book, no, but I mean I've studied it for a long time, so I can kind of just like run down like things that I know about a few of the colors.
Uh,
So like in for instance, like violet is one thing that I've like studied, and that's really like an interesting color because it always is like tied to like this mysticism, or purple being, but people always say purple, but I've learned that purple is actually not a real color through just studying the light spectrum and how our eyes
okay.
perceive it. So now, like relating that back to what those colors actually mean, when you look at violet, violet is actually like a totally different meaning than purple. It is actually a totally different hue when you lay them out next to each other.
So it sounds like there's like a metaphorical thing that is happening between the color spectrum, right?
Mhm.
And you're kind of talking about it both as like visual light and how visual light is happening physically.
Mhm.
But I'm trying to get like am I mistaken in the idea that there is a correlation to like a metaphorical thing
No,
that
no, you're
happening?
right. You're right. You're totally
Okay,
right.
so that's actually more what I'm asking about
Okay.
instead of how like I mean, so like you're saying that I guess what I'm understanding, and you
Hmm.
can correct me if I'm wrong, is
Hmm.
that you have basically a range of colors that represent visible light, and you can't see things that aren't there. It's
Right.
interesting when you said purple isn't a real color because like I find that blue and purple is like one of the most like hotly contested like it's the hardest one for people to decide whether something is purple and blue than
Yeah.
any other colors in the spectrum, right? I see you
Hmm.
nodding, so you know you.
Yeah.
I mean, I almost like slipped and said, "Is your hair purple?"
I've gotten that question for sure.
Well, there's some two hues that next to the brighter parts, like
Hmm.
it can look a little bit more on that end. But and like I'm looking at you through a camera, so it's different, you know.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, so okay, so it's like, is there like I don't know. I'm gonna go. My go-to are the dumb questions,
No, no,
right? So
no. No dumb
no,
questions
no,
at
no.
all.
Like the childish ones. So
Uh-huh.
like the most basic ones. It's like, is it like, are there things that have like a purplish vibe? Like I used to like, you know, I'm not saying synesthesia.
Hmm.
I'm talking about like more like when you're a kid, you're like, oh, that person has like kind of like a yellow personality, as
Yeah.
opposed to like, you get what I'm saying? Is it
Yeah.
that kind of thing that we're talking about?
It's related. For me personally, it kind of is rooted in that. For me, like how I make the work personally and how I'm inspired to make the work. But I don't think what it's cool about it is actually because we're dealing with just color here, all of the people's different experiences are like subjective, and all of their like opinions on it is subjective. So for me, like as an artist and as a creative person, that is what kind of allows me to kind of play in this space and lay out possibility for people to kind of just look at and understand more about themselves. So for instance, like I did an installation last year with an organization called Playground Detroit out of Detroit. And basically this installation was inspired by me constantly staring like at the moon and the sun at different times of the different times of the day, but also like just throughout my days, because I go on nature walks a lot. So I always see these things. And in making this piece, it actually was a 10-foot by 14-foot by 10-foot wall that actually had a void within the middle of it that ended up looking like and mimicking the actual sun and moon, but it was in different colors and it spread out throughout the days and it changed at different times. So that allowed people to have that subjective experience that we talked about, where just like in real life, if you see the sun at different points of the day, you're going to get a different experience of it. Or like last year when I came to LA, after the fires, I was able to see the sun and how it was filtered from the smoke. So that was another thing. And it recently just happened in Detroit, actually. So
Really? What kind of fires? Just like forest fires?
it was fires, like the smoke spread from Canada. So Detroit is like super close to Canada. So like the smoke from some fires that happened in Canada, like it basically spread all the way over like Detroit. And I think it spread over a couple of other states not too far from Michigan. Because I know I saw in DC it did the same thing as well. So like that was kind of one thing that I did that allowed people to kind of like move with it and live with it as if we live with it in real, like we live with it in real life, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, not to go off topic, but have you watched the videos of people driving through that stuff in California? Like,
I've seen a couple of them. I did.
it's fucking scary. Like, I was like, oh yeah, I get it. Like, it's like terrifying. And I was like, I watched it. I was like, you don't fucking know what's on the other side of that shit.
No, you're right.
Like,
you're
it's
right.
like, holy shit.
I personally wouldn't do it, but I mean,
But what's your choice? You're just gonna burn.
right? You know, that's not where
It's
we
like
want to go.
it's like it's this weird thing where you're watching someone just go on faith entirely that like everything will be okay. Oh my god, it's gotta be so hot. Can you imagine like just cranking your AC and it's not like
Blows out like 90-degree air.
yeah. Oh my god. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway,